What is up, everybody? Jordan here with the Deck Box, coming back to you tonight with actually our first little bit of coverage of the European Intercontinentals. And what we're going to start to go over are I'm going to try to go over the top three lists from the European Intercontinentals. So starting off with that, we're going to be looking at Mr. Tord Reklev's Galissapod Zorark list, and I have to admit, I'm really shocked that this deck did so well. And don't take that wrong at all. I'm not saying anything about Tord or his ability. Everyone knows at this point he's an amazing player. He could make just about any deck work at this point. But the reason I'm shocked by this is, like, Zorark Galissapod doesn't seem to be super dynamic, nothing real crazy about it. But what I've noticed from his list is it's just really, really consistent. Plays very heavy counts of draw support between the 3 Lele and 4 Zorark GXs. And that is what kind of shocked me, and because a lot of my testing has been, if I have a heavy Zorark count, I usually run like 2 Lele. If I don't run any Zorark, then I'll run 3 Lele. So just a little bit different for myself. Obviously, a lot of people were talking about the 3 Bridget this weekend, but the more I look at it, the more it makes sense. Tord was definitely onto something with this list. He won, so congratulations to him. I am kind of bummed that he knocked the U.S. out of it, but you know what? We got 2 of the top 4 spots, so I'm really happy about that. So I'm going to run through his list real fast, tell you guys the exact 60 cards that he used, and then I'm going to showcase it a little bit on the ladder, maybe a game or 2, and so let's hop right in the list. So obviously he's playing a 4 Zorua, and then a 4-1 split between Zorark GX and the Zorark from Breakthrough with the stand-in ability. The main focus, it seems like, for this deck is the Zorark GX. It has that trade ability. Once during your turn before you attack, you may discard a card from your hand. If you do, draw 2 cards. This card is just amazing, coming from the new Shining Legends set, printed as a promo as well, which is awesome that they did that, making it a very accessible card for anyone. You can go buy this box for $25-$30. You get the guarantee of 1, plus you get some packs, so really not a bad deal. It has that riotous beating, and I want to go on record as saying it is pronounced riotous. Everyone keeps pronouncing it righteous, and it just really irks me. I think near the end of the weekend they started to figure it out when they were doing their streams for the Intercontinentals. So anyway, off that soapbox. Riotous beating 20 times. It does 20 damage for each of your Pokemon in play. So a cap at 120, 150 with a choice band, hitting for decent numbers. And something I noticed about that is it hits the exact same numbers Galissapod does. They don't do anything too different. They both are pretty much capped at the 120. Other than Galissapod can hit for 150 with his GX attack, so a little bit different there. Anyway, back to the Zorarks. He did a 4-1 split. The second one was a stand-in ability Zorark. Mind Jack doing 30 damage for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon plus the base 10, so potentially, 160, 190 with a choice band. So it can hit for some solid numbers. You only give up 1 prize for it. Plus it has the stand-in ability to be able to just jump right into the active and do its thing. And that brings me to my next point, something I thought was odd and just unique about his list. Again, it's Tord. He knew what he was doing, but he didn't play a single Floatstone. And I know that a lot of lists that are Galissapod based will play Floatstone, especially if it has a Zorark with the stand-in ability. Typically it's the stand-in, retreat, Galissapod does its thing. But Tord wasn't doing that. It seems more that he was focused on using Zorark as an attacker, which, we typically do. But a lot of times, like I said, we'll use him to stand in and retreat. He was not going that route. Just the fact that he had no Floatstones was very interesting. I think what he was trying to do is make every single one of his cards very proactive. And Floatstone isn't always the most proactive tool, so potentially that's what he was going for. Next, we do have Mr. Mime, which mainly it's just for that bench barrier. Actually, not just mainly, it is for that bench barrier and nothing else. Prevent all damage done to your bench Pokemon by attacks. So there was a lot of talk about Buzzwole going into this weekend. So a lot of people started teching Mr. Mime into their deck. I know pretty much most of the Guardy players did that. Any stage 2s would do it. And Tord chose to put one into his stage 1 list, which makes sense. So you're protecting against Buzzwoles, against the new Latios, against Tapu Koko promo. So it doesn't allow them to do what they need to do, which is spread the damage to be able to devolve and take easy knockouts. So he's forcing his opponent to play the 7 prize game, take his Mr. Mime out of play, but by doing that, they're essentially wasting a turn, and it just gives you a chance to set up. And yeah, so he plays one of those. Next, moving on to the Gliscopod line, he plays a 3-2 line between 3 Wimpod, and make sure to play the Wimp out Wimpod. During your first turn, this Pokemon has no retreat cost. Really great ability to be able to set things up. And then Gliscopod GX, he does play 2 of these, mainly for that first impression. You're attacking for 1 energy, and I believe I watched one of Tord's interviews, and that was one of the things that he really enjoyed about Gliscopod, is it is a 1 energy attacker. It's very cheap. And you'll notice pretty much every Pokemon on his list is a cheap attacker. Obviously, the Zoroarks take double colorless and things like that, but it's still 1 attachment, excuse me, which is what he seemed to enjoy about the list. So again, he can hit for 120, 150 with Choice Band with First Impression, consistently being able to 2-shot anything. And I know the name of the game for a little bit here has been 1-shot. However, with lists that are consistent like this, that can set up quickly, 2 shots are okay. Your opponent's not always going to be as set up as you are, considering you're only stage 1, and we do have a lot of stage 2s out right now. So your opponent's not always going to be as set up, and eventually they do run out of those healing factors throughout the game. So 2-shot is definitely okay. Moving on to the next attack, Armor Press, 100 damage, and your opponent does 20 less damage to you during the next turn. Crossing Cut GX, 150, switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. So this is a good attack to be able to set up another first impression with like a fresh Gliscopod that needs to be healed up, or potentially put a wall up there between you and your opponent. Next, he threw in 1 Tapu Koko promo, excuse me, and he obviously played it for that Flying Flip attack. This attack does 20 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon, counting on them not playing a Mr. Mime of their own. And what this Flying Flip does is it puts things within range. 1 Flying Flip can allow a Gliscopod or Zoroark, excuse me, to 1-shot something like a Tapu Lele, an Espeon EX, something that has 170 HP, or potentially even more than that, because as I said, that Crossing Cut GX will do 180 with the Choice Band. So Flying Flip can put Gliscopod within range of taking down any 180, 190, or 200 HP Pokemon. So Tapu Koko is really just there to to put Pokemon within range for Gliscopod and Zoroark to come in and clean things up. So if you get a couple Flying Flips off early in the game, you're sitting pretty good at that point. Next, he did throw in 1 Mewtwo from Evolutions, and this was a tech that I saw, I think, in a few lists, actually. Outside of this one, I know Tord built this list with some teammates, and they played it as well. So obviously I saw this Mewtwo with their lists, but I saw it in a few others, and they're all playing it for that Psychic attack. 20 plus, this attack does 20 more damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So, I mean, I automatically think of a couple different options for why you would play Mewtwo, excuse me. Guardy, obviously you're going to be stacking energy, so you can get Mewtwo out there and just whack him really hard once. Probably not one-shotting him, but again, 1 prize attacker, setting things up, whatever the case may be. The other one I'm thinking of, maybe something like a Buzzwole, if they do decide to build it up. You're doing, so it's 60, 80, you're doing 160, Choice Band is 190, and that is a 1-shot. Because, of course, Buzzwole is weak to Psychic. So I'm sure there are other reasons that they teched him in there, but those are the two that I kind of think of right off the bat. And again, it is a one prize attacker with one energy attack, well, 2 energy, but just 1 energy card attached to be able to start doing what it needs to do. So it's very easy to set up. So definitely not a bad inclusion. Next, he played 3 Tapu Lele to finish off the line of Pokemon. And again, like I said, tons of draw support. Between the 4 Zoroark and the 3 Lele, he's going to have what he wants at any given time. Moving into the items, he played 2 Enhanced Hammer. Obviously, with DCE and Rainbow Energy running around the format right now, it makes perfect sense. 4 Field Blower. And this was actually an interesting inclusion as well. 4 Field Blower is something I usually always want to do, but I can just never find a space for it. So I usually stick with 3. But Tord managed to fit 4 in there, so no one pretty much was ever able to shut off his abilities. They weren't going to be able to do that. And I was actually watching, I forget who he was playing against. It may have been, I want to pronounce the person's name right, AMLE or something like that. He was playing the Volcanion list that made it to top 8, which, again, another surprise list to make it that far into top 8 was Volcanion. And I was watching the matchup between them, and the Volcanion player was pretty much avoiding putting tools down because he knew Tord played so many Field Blowers, and he's like, well, he's gonna just Field Blower him anyway. So it acts as kind of a preventative measure as well as being able to, again, keep your abilities online. So definitely a great inclusion for him to have 4. Again, just super consistent. Next is 4 Puzzle of Time, and this is something, again, I saw quite a few Puzzles of Time this weekend whenever it came to a Zoroark GX list, which it just makes sense because Zoroark, you dump something typically that you don't need, but sometimes you have to dump something that you potentially need to try to find something else. Puzzles makes it to where it really doesn't punish you. You can get back whatever you need, and it's not a big deal. And I don't know why people didn't talk too heavily about this before. It was always the Mallow engine, which again, haven't seen too much of that. But a lot of people showed up to London this weekend and said, we've got puzzles, we've got Zoroark, we can do whatever we want. So definitely an awesome inclusion. Takes care of getting your energy back, your Pokemon, items, supporters, whatever the case may be, you are covered. So really a great option there. For Ultra Ball, obviously just to get any one of his Pokemon out at any given time. And again, excuse me, again, it is not a huge deal if he has to dump something that may be important later, because he does have those 4 Puzzles of Time. Moving on to the supporters now, we do have 3 Acerola, which makes perfect sense with a Golisopod list because you need to get things out of the active. Plus, you are going to be 2-shotting things, and potentially they will be trying to 2-shot you as well, so you need to prevent them from taking their 2 shots by playing Acerola, getting something out of the active, and then start swinging with a backup attacker right behind them. This was kind of the talk of the weekend, was playing 3 Bridget in this list. Typically, people will play at least 1 Bridget, if not 2, to avoid the prize issue. But Tord and his team members chose to play 3 Bridget this weekend. It was such a high count. And they obviously asked him, and he said, if I get Bridget, I win typically. If I don't get Bridget, I typically lose. So Tord said, I'm going to win. I'm going to make sure that I have my Bridgets. They're not going to be prized. And plus, on top of that, with Zoroark GX's trade ability, this gives him 2 cards that he knows late in the game he's probably not going to need. He can dump those. Additionally, something that wasn't mentioned, but I think might be relevant, Zoroark's attack does more based on how many Pokemon you have on your bench. If you come to a point in the game where you're kind of low on Pokemon on the bench, Bridget could be there to recover things for you and fill your bench up to where it needs to be able to do a little bit more damage. So just kind of an additional use for that. Next, he played 4 Gizmo, which this is pretty much standard in Golisopod list to play this many Gizmo just to be able to guarantee the 1 energy first impression. He does play 1 Mallow, so a little bit of that Mallow Zoroark engine there just to set up the 2 cards that he wants and then use that GX attack to be able to draw them. Really great to set things up. 4N, obviously one of the better, or actually one of the best draw supporters in the game. You can disrupt your opponent or just avoid discarding things when you don't need them. 2 Sycamore, kind of a low count on this, but I suppose with all the Zoroarks discarding things for him and drawing, you kind of eventually, if you have 2 Zoroark set up, you're drawing 4 cards. 3, you're up to 6. 4, you're up to 8. Typically, you might not get up to the 4, but if you get 3, you pretty much have a Sycamore every single turn, plus whatever other supporter you want. So you don't need too high of a Sycamore count. He plays 2 Choice Bands. Again, he's going mostly for 2 shots. So he doesn't need to play a 4 count of Choice Band to try to guarantee 1 shots constantly. 4 DCE and just 3 Grass Energy is all he plays for his energy counts. It seems kind of low, but obviously it worked for him, and it makes sense because Golisopod's the only thing that's you're typically going to use the Grass Energy for, and only playing 2 of those means that he's not going to have to commit too much to them. So there is Tord Reklev's first place list from the European Intercontinentals. So we're going to hop on the ladder real quick and showcase this list real fast. Hopefully I can do it some justice. Don't want to embarrass myself with the list too bad. Tested a little bit with it, and this just proves to me that testing is essential. So a lot of people will hop on to YouTube like we're doing now, and they'll see this list and say, oh, that's Tord's list, I'm gonna jot it down, I'm gonna build it, and I'm gonna take it to this tournament. They just assume that the list is good. Okay, I'm not saying the list is not good. The list is fantastic, but the list is only as good as you've tested for. Because when I built this to showcase for you guys, I decided to play a few games with it just to see what it was like, and I was having a tough time with it. I just had absolutely no clue what I was doing with it, and there were some weird little things about it that just did not make sense to me. And to me that just shows that it's the testing that makes the difference for the player. It's not just about the list. It's about the fact that it's Tord Reklev. He put a lot of time into it. He understands why each card is in the list. Each card has its purpose. So just something to keep in mind. Don't just simply count on the list doing all the work for you. You've got to do a little work yourself. So, alright, so we're going to get Zoroark GX up and going. I'm going to end up playing a Sycamore, I believe. So I'll just dump this. And again, we can get those back with puzzles. Not a huge deal. No, I'm going to get rid of 2 ends. I guess I shouldn't have traded before the Sycamore. Again, having to get used to a list that's not my own. Excuse me. Okay, let's see. Get another one of you up. One of each of our main attackers out there for now. And we'll start swinging. Now, if my opponent doesn't get anything, we actually just win this next turn. Yep, and he just scoops it up. Kind of disappointing for him. Not so much for us. We're okay with that. But as we all know, that sometimes happens. So we're going to grab another game and see if we can get a little bit more into the game before we win. So real quick while we're waiting for an opponent. Okay, now it's starting up. But anyway, so I'm recording this Sunday night. Obviously, we have Thanksgiving coming up on Thursday and a whole big Thanksgiving weekend. I will be out of town. But I think that we're going to try to prep enough videos to get our typical Thursday through Sunday. So there'll be a Thanksgiving Day thing all the way through Sunday potentially. So just a heads up, we may or may not get those in, but we will definitely keep you updated. If you're not following me on Twitter, oh, I got a heart. That's very nice. If you're not following me on Twitter, be sure to do that at J3T8LAK, and that will have all of every time we put something out, it'll give you some information that we've put something out. Okay, now I'm debating. I think I am. I don't really need to bridge. I've got a couple, and I should get another one out here. Nope. That was bad. Well, that's fine. We have the Zoroark Zoroark Mallow draw engine next turn. Gotta remember what this card does. Oh, yippee. Nothing like poison. Oh, he's doing the mega. That's the reason for playing it. DCE. Sorry for the yawning, guys. Late night. Probably just gonna evolve to end his turn. Oh no, he's gonna shuffle him back in. This guy's loaded with all the bling. Probably a Sycamore now. Have like 180 HP. Yeah. Oh, and we get red carded. It's actually good though. I don't want to Sycamore away that puzzle. Happy about the end. Such a bad setup. What is going on? Start prepping Zoroark. Have to Sycamore away this puzzle this time. Can't afford to sit around too much. Here goes the baby Zorua in the back. Thinking I may bridge it this turn. Probably what I should have done before. It's going to be putting a lot of energy on, so Mewtwo may not be a bad option. Oh, come on, there we go. turn. So he still can't use that. He actually just hurt himself by evolving. He could have done something. That was a Shining Celebi, so okay, that's what he's planning to do. He can use just Venusaur EXs, so 90 and heal. Oh no, he's gonna poison instead. I guess that makes sense, because if I don't get out of the active, he will KO me. Alright, so I need to get an energy. There's DCE. Maybe that's the best option. Well, oh, come on. There we go. Not wanting to do it for some reason. Alright. There's an E-hammer. That's actually relevant. Get rid of our Wimpod. Could use Lele. 230 HP, man. 81, 2, 3, 4, 6. Nah, I don't like that. Rather preserve that. First impression. And next turn to take the knockout, we're gonna have to DCE cross and cut GX. He top decks a Sycamore off that. That is crazy. Alright, let's see here. What have you gone through? 2 Sycamore, 2 DCEs gone. There's a Grass Energy. It's just going to be poisoning again. But we have Guzma. Kinda, what else are we looking at? 120? Okay. Take 2 easy prizes there. Let's see, what do we have in here that would be worthwhile? I'm not gonna use my puzzles yet. And I really don't need to trade right now. At 60, he'll be able to heal if he goes for this. I need to take down Celebi. That's not what he went for. Do I have an Ace of Roll in this card? That'd be nice right about now. No, we don't. Okay, let's see. It's 170 away. So what I need is, excuse me for 1 second. I need a choice band. DCE. There's Acerola. start with that. Choice fan. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah. Alright. Armor press then. Don't want to use the GX Tech just yet. If I could save that for like a one shot on a Lele, that'd be really nice. Or even on one of these Venusaurs. Once to evolve that, he's going to waste a turn, and that actually might be good for us. So get a different hand here. We can dump Bridget. We could use Mallow to get exactly what we need. Yeah, that's what we'll do. That's exactly what we'll do. We'll put a DCE. Well, really, we just need put you up at the top, and we need an Acerola at the top. Okay. We'll use trade. Dump our Bridget. Oh, dang it, that was stupid. I used Mallow to get... That was dumb. Use Mallow to get a Acerola. You can't play two supporters in one turn. I'd know that if I was paying attention. Alright. Just try to get set up for the next turn. That was dumb. He's getting an easy knockout here. That was stupid. We've still got DCEs in there, though. That's good news. We're going to have to trade to make sure we get our DCE this turn, which we should be able to. Got Gizmo, so we can trade to get a DCE Gizmo, knock him out, unless he does that. So if he doesn't get a DCE though, Golisopod actually survives. Right? Yeah. Oh, and we have an Acerola now too. Oh, come on. Nope, you get the DCE, of course. That's fine. That is fine. We deserve that because we totally botched that last turn. Let's dump this grass energy. That. We're swinging for 100. I'll hold on to choice pin for now. I don't want to dump anything else in that hand. Wish I had an E-hammer. He gets one. Weakens up his own attack, though. let's see. I just need a couple DCE to start prepping things. What other supporters could I possibly need? I think the two DCEs is really it. Those will probably help me the most. Let's get rid of this floatstone so we can't use that. Put the Ranger up thinking he had it, or he's just gonna... Oh, okay, he's got switch. Does he have a DCE though? Probably gonna use Marshall out of the shuffle. Does that do both of ours? Yep. Okay. DCE, we're actually still in a good spot. He's going to put choice bands on, potentially. That kind of hurts. And we still have trade, though, which is good. I do want to keep this, that I do know. Trade away the Ultra Ball. You'll for sure trade away Bridget. Set up some easy knockouts. And next we have another Gizmo, so as long as, why does he smiles at everything, man? So as long as we don't get end out of our current position, we can just Gizmo up the Celebi or even the Oranguru. Alright, so he's not going to end us, so we should be good. There's no way he can take 3 prizes this turn. And he's not going to be able to pull Coco out to take it out, which is... Well, actually, we don't even need Coco now because we have our DCE. We can just Gizmo DCE something. Alright, so Tord's list doing what it does against an odd deck, I have to admit. So, sorry about that. Can't control PTCGO and their weird stuff. Alrighty. But even against such a weird list, like, it's crucial to see... Why did he smile at everything? Quit smiling. Anyway, no, it's crucial to see just how consistent this is. Like, anytime I needed something, I was able to get it, and I didn't have to worry about, oh, am I going to be able to get this back, or do I really need this? Because I had the puzzles, you know. So, I do really like this list. I do want to practice more with it. Like I said, the list just really intrigues me because so many people said, you know, well, not trade, that's not what I wanted. So many people said that this wasn't the most optimal Zoroark list, and Tord's like, well, let's see, you know. So the list is definitely intriguing to me. It's also cool to see because Tord was known so long for Garb, Drampa Garb, that was his thing. So for him to be able to switch up and come out with this list that's just kind of odd, you know, not gonna lie, but it's just so good, and he's proving to the world, like, yeah, I'm a good Drampa Garb player, but how about I'm just a good Pokemon player? Like, I know what I'm doing. So it's really good to see from him. But yeah, so here's the list, guys, up on the screen for you. Go ahead and take it, use it. It'll definitely do well for you. These lists I've been getting a lot of them from Facebook or Twitter, but I'm pretty sure that Pokemon will be posting the list probably within the next week or so on the website. So if for some reason you peek at it again, there's always this video to check out, or you could always check their website if you need to. So yeah, guys, like I said, over the next few days, I'm going to be covering, like I said, I covered Tord's list. I should be covering Zach Kreklev's and Christopher Szymanski's as well. And I'm going to go and pick a few of the lists that I saw streaming that I thought were interesting, and maybe try to get those up for you guys as well. So as usual, I've been Jordan with the Deck Box. We want to know what's in your box. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great night.